it's another side that like wants to take more, wants to go that one more round, because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Welcome to another episode of One More Round of the Rocky Series podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and together again, after a bit of a break, the three of us are back together again, and as it should be for the start of season 3 of One More Round, Rocky 3, we have Katie and Kyle. Katie, welcome back from your vacation. How did it go?
Good. Just a quick little, just happened to be gone on this Sunday, but yeah, it was good. Thank you. I am very excited that Kyle is returning to Earth now. From Mars.
Temporarily, I'm upstairs right now. The lighting in the basement room, which I'm usually in, causes my camera to go red. It did spontaneously stop doing that the other day, but I don't have a lot of faith in it that will be a trend going forward.
That's
well, it was weird because last episode we had, of course, guest host Doug from the Rocky Minute Podcast, the #1 podcast on our network. Doug, we love you. And you did an amazing job. He listens to every show. He truly is a great guy. Doug is like the nicest guy. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. He really is. I hate that one of us can't be here, but he's the first guy I message if one of us can't be here.
I do want to commend you guys. It was a really good episode. I very much enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. And during that episode, though, you probably heard it if you're obviously listening to the show. Kyle or Doug mentioned, "Hey, look, Kyle's come down to Earth." What happened was his red light or whatever, it went normal. So Kyle became normal. In fact, Jared from the guest host that he's come on the show with this one as well, Jared Talkstein, he created a picture of Kyle.
Yes.
Has Kyle seen it?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Okay, well, for the YouTube version, again, if you want to check this out on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel, One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. You can Google it. I'll show the picture now that Jared created. It was really funny. Basically, what was it again? It was Kyle with like The Martian, like the cover of the book, The Martian or whatever. It was Kyle coming back to Earth or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. I love when our listeners do that kind of stuff. They know the lore enough to know that Kyle is no longer red. But that's why the logo of our logo, if you look at our podcast logo, of course, Katie's pink. I'm blue for whatever is my favorite color with a little blonde hair or gray hair. And there's Kyle with glasses and the red face. That's because of his red camera. That's why it's red. Anyways.
Well, how are you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Settling into my new job and just learning. A lot to learn. The learning curve is high, but the stress is low, meaning I have a lot to learn, but I'm not put to the gun or the pressure or you better figure this out or you're, it's
that's really nice. Like, what a comforting feeling. Also, is this your new podcasting room?
Yes, this is the office. Office. Behind me to my left is the futon that we'll be putting up in here for guests when they come over so they can sleep here. It's a big enough room they can sleep here. But yeah, that's my desk and all set up. And yeah, I'm good to go.
Very nice.
And Kyle has a blackboard behind him. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's in my kitchen. We have a chalkboard wall that the kids draw on and that we draw.
Cool.
Sorry, chalkboard. I should say blackboard.
Well, that's okay. I kind of watched it before the podcast, but it still has those streaks. But
no, I like it.
I do too. It reminds me of being a kid in school.
I remember having to do chalkboard duty. Pounding,
clapping Yes, listeners, we are that old. We didn't have whiteboards when we were in grade school.
Yeah,
dry eraser boards. No.
There's in my high school. There was a few rooms that had dry eraser boards.
Kyle's a little younger. Yeah. He's a little younger than us, so he might have.
Well, Katie and I are pretty close in age.
Well, we're probably about like older brother, middle sister, younger brother, kind of probably.
Matter of years, it can change things. And it depends on the school, the budget, the district. Like, some schools might have had dry eraser boards when I was in school, but there was the rich private schools for all I know.
I think I did have some in high school as well, Kyle, but
What year
yeah.
did you graduate high school?
Oh,
99.
I was 2002. So it was,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
so you're my older sister's age.
Yeah.
Okay, 99, and I was 93. Okay, so we're all within that kind of, yeah. I'm the old one. We know that. Okay. Well,
You're the screwed up middle child, Katie.
I know, which is weird because I'm actually the youngest child. So I'm,
That's right. Yeah.
you know, and I'm a Leo. So apparently we like attention. You know,
Really?
Yeah. Young Leos and the youngest child. They're sort of notorious for that.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah. Well, you came to the wrong podcast if you're expecting any attention. You got to have an audience to have attention. No. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's joining us live or watches us on the Patreon page and who supports me on Patreon. I do appreciate it because it, as I've always said, it helps pay for the Last of the Action Heroes podcast feed. And I know I don't plug it very often. I should plug it more. You're listening to this via that network. You see all the shows that come on. I want to thank everyone that joins and listens to the variety of shows on there. The Rocky Minutes there, of course, my co-host from the Rambo podcast, Dom Matello. Dom, he's amazing. He's great. His Movie Thought podcast is fun. He's a great guy. And I'm really grateful for you guys. I'm just feeling nostalgic because here we are moving on to part 3, Rocky 3, season 3 of One More Round. This is where we get a little bit cartoonish, folks. The 80s is kicked in full throttle. Oh, Katie, speaking of which, you're excited because you like the 80s, but quickly, why don't you just plug your amazing podcast, please?
You're so kind. Yeah, speaking of it, I do love the 80s Rockies and things 80s and 90s. So I have a podcast if anybody wants to check out nostalgic stuff, movies and TV shows and all of that. It's called Retro Made, your pop culture rewind, and YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts. We cover movies and I sprinkle in pop culture of the time. If you like that kind of thing, check it out.
You do a great job. And I know I said this on the last podcast, but I don't think you're there. I'm just so proud of you. You're like, to see you spread your wings and do your own thing. And would you be doing a Retro Made podcast had I never invited you?
No.
That's what I thought.
Probably. And so thanks a lot. But also I do want to give you so much credit because you have a lot of shows and you're very professional and well-spoken. And not everyone is, myself included. I am not.
Not true. You're the smart one on the show.
Also, there is so much work behind the scenes. I didn't have a full appreciation for it until I started doing it. So Ryan spends a lot of time being meticulous about getting a quality show out. So thank you, Ryan.
Oh, stop it. Stop it, you. All right. You're making me blush. Okay. Well, speaking of which, we're going to go into Rocky 3. We don't have any emails. So if you haven't sent us an email in a while, and we'd love to hear from you. I do want to say thank you to those who do comment on our YouTube channel. Those are always read and I always respond. And our Facebook group as well. I always read those and I always respond. But I kind of keep it there to those social interactions on YouTube and on Facebook or Twitter. And I want to say thanks to those people who do listen and comment there. But the emails just have a different flavor. So if you want to send us an email, we'll read those on the air, of course, and voicemails as well. If you can send us a voice file, we'll play it on the air. That will work as well. We haven't had that happen yet. Who's going to be the first one?
I sent one.
That's not a podcaster or a podcast host. So it works, folks. If you have a smartphone, you just download a video app a voice app. It's called video record or voice record. It's very easy. You just literally talk into your phone like a voicemail, and then you hit share an email and off it goes. It's like a very small file in your email. It'll go to anyone. It's very easy to do. So try it out. And our email is in every show note. Okay. So we're talking about Rocky 3. Okay. As we all know, Rocky 3 came out in 1982. It was written, directed, and starred Sylvester Stallone, who also did the other previous Rocky movies. His second film of Rocky 2 was the first one he directed, and then he directed this one again. Continues the story. We have the addition, of course, of Mr. T playing Clubber Lang. And did you guys know how Mr. T was found?
Contest for what are the door guys? Bouncers?
Yeah, it's crazy. I tried to find a YouTube clip on it so I could show it on our channel here. Couldn't find one. So real life boxers Joe Frazier and Ernie Shavers were considered for the part. Which would have been kind of weird had Joe Frazier been given the part, considered he did an actual cameo in the first Rocky film.
He's too nice.
Yeah, he's way too nice. There's no way he could be an asshole like that. Even Ernie Shavers is a pretty nice guy, too. I'm glad they didn't cast either of those guys.
I love how Stallone just got to get another black guy. It's like,
I sort of assumed there are more black boxers than white boxers. Maybe, I don't know.
In the heavyweight division at that time, for sure. There were white boxers who were competitive, for sure. But if you look at all the heavyweight champions in the 70s and the 80s, it was, I think, exclusively black guys. Even into the 90s, like it wasn't until like the 2000s and later. Like right now, the heavyweight champions are white, but black guys were definitely in the heavyweight division, kind of more prominent.
Yeah.
There's this thing like the Great White Hope.
Yeah.
There's a movie. It's really obscure. It's called The Great White Hype.
Is that a part of our boxing movie watch?
Well, I shared the link with you guys, so you have access to it a while ago. But I'd have to check.
I guess it's not that obscure. I thought it was.
You didn't memorize it? Oh my God. No, it's not that obscure. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
It's got Samuel Jackson, Jeff Goldblum in it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We're definitely have to add that to our resume. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Yeah. Okay. Mr. T was chosen after winning the competition called America's Best Bouncer. Rocky 3 was the first film in the franchise to be distributed by MGM/UA Entertainment Company following a merger with United Artists. So I guess MGM merged with UA at that point.
So Rocky, the first two Rockies were not MGM?
Yeah, by the merger of MGM/UA. So I guess MGM merged with United Artists.
Okay.
Now, probably retroactively, we see. But when at that time, the merger. Yeah. Of course, when it was released in May of 82, mixed reviews from film critics, of course. Some praised the action scenes and the music, while others felt the screenplay was lacking and considered the film unnecessary. This is kind of where Kyle falls into it. Like if he takes on his critic hat, he's mentioned that the sequels themselves are unnecessary, but I would argue films in general are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Sure. Like we don't need a film to exist to live. I know what they're saying. They're saying the storyline could be resolved after the second, but we all want to see more.
The reason I say that for the first film is I like the idea of it's a mystery what happens to Rocky at the end of that film. But the other films are a lot of fun.
That's just
it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying that the other films ruined the first film, but from a purely artistic standpoint, the first film would have been just a little better if it was just on its own. I actually like Rocky 3 more than Rocky 4, for example. I like the idea of Rocky and Apollo becoming friends. I like the idea that you have to he has to change his style. I like it actually better than Rocky 2 as well.
Oh, wow. There you go. Okay. All right. So over time, just like I was saying, over time, the movie has gained a strong following and garnered more positive retrospective reviews. It was a commercial success as well, grossing. Now, at the time, it grossed $270 million worldwide. At that time, the average movie ticket was $3 a ticket. Thus, they sold 90 million tickets. If that movie was released today, it would garner $720 million in ticket sales. The average price of a ticket for $10. Thus, to get that same amount, it's it would be 72 million tickets sold. So if it was released today with the same amount of tickets sold, that's where I'm going with this. Sorry. So the same amount of tickets were sold today, it would be close to $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That's how successful this movie is. There, does that make sense? So I had to figure out
adjust for inflation.
That's right. So not only just for inflation, but because ticket prices have gone up so high, the sales are down a little bit. So yes, it would have made $720 million just strictly money wise. However, they sold 90 million. So 90 million people saw, or whether it's once or twice. So 90 million tickets were sold approximately in 1982. That same amount today would be over $900 million in ticket sales.
Are you also saying that the average ticket price today is $10? Because
that's the average. I know low. Kyle said the same thing. Well, yes and no. It depends. Like you got to remember the coastal cities, they're a little bit higher than middle America. So that's the average across America. I
mean, I don't live on the coast, and I think a ticket is like $16.
Let's say $13 then.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
This is just the research I did. It said $10 was the average ticket across.
Interesting.
The US.
Okay.
But anyway, so there you go. That is a little bit of how successful this movie. Either way, this movie was a success by all stretches of imagination, and probably not that expensive to make even today's money or back then money. It was fairly cheap to make. No CGI, no special effects, just in a ring. Most of the money probably went to Sly's pay.
They got some good outfits, you guys. I'm very excited.
We're going to get to those. We'll get to those, of course. Donald, just want to say that this was the first Rocky he saw in the theater, and me too, Donald. It was the first one I saw in the theater as a kid. Yep. Louise thinks that they should have ended with part 3. Wraps the perfect bow on the series. Good insight there from the listeners.
Little trilogy.
Yeah, Rocky IV actually doesn't serve a purpose at all.
It's my favorite. I could rewatch that all day, every day. I love it so much.
And we said it before, we'll say it again. Rocky IV, when everyone says, what's your favorite Rocky film? 95% of the conversation is between 4 and 1. No, it's almost split 50-50 too.
Mm-hmm,
4 and 1 are 90 to 95% of the people's choices. There's a few outliers like Kyle saying 3 or 2. There's even the odd person who says part 5. I kid you not, and they mean it. So no, I'm not even joking. I've met those people.
I think it very much depends on which movie you saw, like growing up. The first one is amazing, but as a kid, I thought it was boring.
It was boring as a kid, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to start the film. So today's episode will probably most likely just be the intro. Obviously, the montage. There'll be a lot of talk. We'll go as far as we can go, but I think the intro would be the nice little, the split screens, the montage intro. We're not going to do the recap of the fight. It's pointless. We've done this before. There's no point in recapping the fight, even though it's done in the film. We'll just get right to when the transition between, he wins to the Eye of the Tiger song kicks in. So I want to talk about the Eye of the Tiger really quickly here. Eye of the Tiger is a song by the American rock band Survivor. It was released as a single from their third album with the same name and became famous as the theme song for the 1982 movie Rocky III. The song was written by guitarist Frankie Sullivan and keyboardist Jim Peterick. Now, do you guys recall which song Stallone originally wanted but got denied?
Was it the Queen song?
Which song?
We Are the Champions?
Nope.
Or Another One Bites the Dust?
Yes. You know what we need to do? We need to somehow get Another One Bites the Dust overlay music over top of that to see how that fits.
I could see Another One Bites the Dust for when Rocky's knocking out all those people in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the rest of the film, Another One Bites the Dust doesn't make any sense.
Agreed.
So, that's probably a good call that didn't work out. But this is the first time we're hearing music in the Rocky films that's not by Bill Conti or not made for the film. It's like an outside source.
Sort of. Don't forget Frank Stallone's Take It Back. Do.
Yeah.
Did that pre-exist the film, or did he do it for the film, though?
He did that song for the album. It was on the original soundtrack.
Yeah, okay. I'm not counting that.
He did it. Trust me, nobody should count anything Frank Stallone does. Okay. Now, the version that we hear in the film, folks, is actually the demo version because it includes tiger growls not found in the album version.
I didn't realize there were tiger growls.
I don't think I did either.
Eye of the Tiger became a huge hit. Now, how big, and this is surprising to me how big the song really was. I know it was a big song, but it was a big song. So Eye of the Tiger became a huge hit in 82, receiving a lot of airplay on MTV and radio stations worldwide. It reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the United States. It stayed there for 6 weeks in a row, making it Survivor's only song to the top of the chart. It was the second best-selling single of 82, just behind, do you want to have one to guess? Rachel made the host?
82, it was just behind... No, I don't know. There's so many.
Okay. Sure. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
is it a Queen song?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who sings it, or would that give it away?
Well, I'll say the person's name, but you'll guess it. Olivia Newton-John.
Oh, what is the workout one?
Yes, that's right. Let's get physical. I wanna get. That physical. Was the #1 song. Is that weird? That song was #1.
It is odd. About Eye of the Tiger, have you guys ever been to or heard of, listeners too, the Fever by Candlelight or Candlelight by Fever shows? It's like small venues. They'll find a cool venue and it's lit it's just a few people with string instruments usually. They'll have Taylor Swift ones or Queen or, classic rock on strings. And nice. They're really cool. They're really reasonably priced too. Eye of the Tiger was part of they probably had 10 songs and they were all really big rock songs. And Eye of the Tiger was one of them. It was really good.
I don't really have a life, so that could exist where I am. And I just am not aware of it.
So the song remained in the top 10 for 15 weeks, which was one of the longest runs in the 80s. Survivor won a Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance by Duo or Group with Vocals for the song. In the UK, it also reached #1 and stayed there for 4 weeks. Eye of the Tiger was certified in the United States, signifying sales of over 2 million vinyl copies sold. By February 2015 now, so this was 8 years ago, so it's more now, but it sold 4.1 million digital downloads in the United States alone. The song is considered one of the greatest hard rock songs of all time and was ranked 63rd by VH1. So there you go, a little bit of background regarding... Now here's my hot take, though. I find the song boring. Well, give me No Easy Way Out by Robert Tepper any day of the week. That song does not ever get tiring. I don't know what it is about that song. I
agree about the No Easy Way Out is amazing, but Eye of the Tiger is great.
It's a great intro. Find it just repetitive. I just don't know what it is about there's no real bridge. It's just kind of very simple. It has a great start. It kind of kicks in. It starts the Rocky 3 movie. I get it, and we get a kick out of that moment. But without the montage behind it and the song by itself, it's kind of repetitive and blah. I don't know. I'm probably very alone on this, but
no, I mean, maybe I'm a simpleton, but I quite love it. Like when it comes on in the car, I'll sing to it.
It's one of those songs where if it comes on in the car, if it hits you by surprise, it's a nice little treat. Mm-hmm. But it probably is not a song that I would have on like a playlist that I listen to fairly regularly. No. Yeah, I think, though, was an excellent choice for this film.
I agree. Especially for the film, it works. Yeah. It works for the film. Absolutely. I can't be bothered to listen to this on my own. As people are mentioning the chat here, I remember when Ryan and Ruben called out Tepper and Going the Distance. Our first Ruben and I, if you haven't already, you can go back and listen to the old episodes of Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast. Ruben and I shat all over Robert Tepper for so many episodes. And then we finally got to talk to him. The recording wasn't very good because I was still learning how to do conversations with or interviews with people over the internet. We actually told them that we could bury the hatchet. They didn't know what we're talking about. So it was a lot of fun, and Robert Tepper was a really good sport about it. We just said that we made fun of him, and then we're not going to do that anymore because we interviewed him.
And we were running short on time, and I left out Angel of the City, and people were like, "What? What are you doing?" All right, take it easy. We'll get it in there.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Hey, really, thanks, guys. You guys are really starting really good. How often do you do the podcast? You going to send me a copy?
Yeah. We'll send you the link when this episode comes out. And I want to say, for open disclosure, we've had a running joke. We pretend to be mad at you for I'm glad you like it. So it's been an ongoing joke through our Rocky IV coverage where you interrupt our show with your music.
Okay.
Where we say that you made Rocky IV and not Stallone and things like that. We just want to let you know that it's all good fun, and so a lot of our listeners have been looking forward to this episode of you coming on. You've been nothing but gracious and kind and open with your stories, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, and if you ever need me to do any IDs or do some verbal interruptions, I will. If you think something funny.
That'd be awesome. I would love that. Thank you so much, Robert.
That's great. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Robert. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go, guys. That was Robert Tepper from the Rocky IV soundtrack, No Easy Way Out, and the Cobra soundtrack, Angel of the City. He was very kind. Sorry for the audio quality on the cell phones. Again, Mr. Tepper, thank you so much for your time. You were gracious, and it looks like we buried the hatchet, Ruben.
Have we though?
Yeah. Looks like Robert has been kind and gracious to us. We're at the bury our Robert Tepper hatchet. He didn't lose his Tepper on us. He didn't. So Robert, good luck with all your future stuff. And again, I just want to reiterate how influential that song has been in people's lives. You can't watch Rocky IV without getting excited for that Lamborghini Countach scene when he revs up the engine, the drum beat kicks in, and Robert Tepper's voice screams. It's just, Ruben, any closing thoughts before we close?
Ding, ding.
Anyways, he's a great guy. Yeah, I told him that.
I would have not said anything. I'd be like, yeah, we think you're awesome.
I forget what kind of the jokes were about, but we just kind of always say that Robert Tepper, ruins our podcast, and he would or skip out on interviews or something like that. We just kind of made fun of him and his hair.
His hair. I can't even picture what he looks like.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's all clean cut now, and he's not older. I guess he's 60 something now, but yeah. For the sake of copyright and YouTube release, of course, iTiger will be blocked right away. So there you go. So, but I do want to play just a little bit of the transition, just a little bit. Hopefully, it doesn't get claimed because it doesn't take long to get claimed. I like the transition between the original outro music of Fight, and it kind of kicks into that, it's the final round, whatever music by Bill Conti, and it kind of kicks into that modern era music, which I think is part of the reason why they did that. Was to show we're now into a modern age from 79 to 82. Mm-hmm. So
that doesn't get you pumped. It's so good.
Do I have to say it 100 times? It works for the film.
Yeah.
Okay, so right away, though, we get the fireworks going. Rocky is not just the champion of the world. He's champion of the world. He's beyond a boxing champion now. We have fireworks celebrating his stardom, and he's like the world star.
He's really likable because of his like Cinderella story. And he also proved through 2 long fights that he didn't like get a lucky shot and just get the championship out of a fluke, right? Like he really earned it. He came from nothing. Like he captured everyone's imagination. So I could see why people would like him so much.
George Washington Duke in 5 he's a people's champion. Isn't that who said that? Yeah, he really is.
Okay, now we're going into they weren't killers.
They was good fighters.
There's good
but they
fighters.
wasn't killers.
That's right. So we're seeing that. So right now we don't know that scene's coming. So when you're a first time viewer, you actually don't know that. But that's actually what we're seeing right now. We're seeing.
Was there people around though? Was there a fighter that was like Clubber or like someone who could beat Rocky really easily? Like I wonder with that scene if Mickey really picked the easiest opponents or if he just. I don't know, there wasn't anyone around to really challenge Rocky. Like there wasn't an Apollo Creed type person or a Clubber Lang type person out there.
Do you mean like in real life? Who did they pull from?
Rocky's fighting these 10 guys, right?
Right, 10 title defenses.
And they're not setups. They're not killers like Clubber. Was there someone like Clubber, someone else like Clubber that was out there that they ducked?
I think within the movie universe, I think we're just led to believe whatever the navigation Mickey did, it just steered clear away from either people, specifically Clubber, because Mickey knew Clubber. We'll see that later, but also just maybe anyone like him. But Clubber was the only one who had the balls to call him out on it, maybe.
Yeah. Good call.
So now we're seeing, of course, the fights. It's hard to count. I don't think we necessarily see all 10 title defenses here. We can do a count. There's one right now. But we're seeing like the montage of Rocky fighting, Mickey in the corner, Stitch Man with him, so he's got the same team from Rocky 2 are in his corner, and he easily wins. Like, look what he does to these people. He's pounding that guy to oblivion. It's over the top. He's like he's a superhero now. Rocky is fighting decent fighters. Like they're not really low ranked, obviously shitty fighters. Like maybe a couple of them were. He's fighting good fighters. It shows that Rocky he belongs in the top of the heavyweight division. I think what they're saying with like things being handpicked or fighting these bums is that you're not necessarily fighting the elite of the elite. There's someone out there that could probably beat you still. The first scene we see here of Paulie. So here's the first scene of Burt Young playing Paulie. Already he's like, if you're watching this for the first time, we left from Rocky 2. It's like he's telling Rocky, I'll take care of the house. I'll take care of the house. You got it. You don't worry about it. Yeah, I'll take care of everything. What were first-time viewers thinking at this moment? Did they recognize right now why is Paulie angry? Why is he upset? They must have had cut scenes because it is way too stark of a contrast. The first time we're like, to your point, Ryan, he's immediately annoyed. He's like, oh, Adrian's all happy. He sees the show that it's kind of for show. In this montage, I could see them showing Paulie doing that after like the 5th title defense, that he's like, oh, geez, here we go again. And then after the montage, the scene that we get about Paulie's really got a huge chip on his shoulder. I think there has to have been scenes that were cut because it doesn't really make sense. Because what we're seeing in the montage is whoever Rocky fought there was his first title defense. Because it says here, and it says Rocky wins first title defense. So we're actually seeing Adrian cheering her husband, loving that he's a champion. Paulie right away is jealous already that Rocky's won a first title defense. Like, why is he bummed out about that? Oh, yeah. Rocky. Okay, I think I could give a little bit of a defense here, although I do generally agree with you guys. There's probably quite a bit of time between when Rocky beat Apollo and the first title defense, especially given that Rocky was beaten near to death. Rocky would have gotten an insane amount of attention. So I'm guessing Rocky's attention and popularity and wealth was kind of grinding on Paulie for like, this could have been a year in between when he fought Apollo in his first title defense. There's probably a lot of stuff that happened in that year. Like they would have moved into a way nicer house, which I guess Paulie doesn't live in. We find that out, which you don't know that when you're first viewing the film. And you could see Adrian is already totally changed.
She has her hair nice, and she's in nice clothes. So like they've moved up in the world, obviously, even though it's the first title defense. This fight with Apollo, he probably made millions of dollars off it. He's huge, major celebrity now, and it's kind of going back to more of the Paulie we knew from the first film, who was jealous when he was watching the press conference with Rocky. Paulie's probably still working at like the meat factory or whatever, the meat packing plant, while Rocky's living this like luxurious life. So
he's on the docks.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's right.
Yeah, he's on the docks.
He kind of goes from the docks and then somehow back to the meat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's doing.
These 80s movies are real quick. They're extra tight. There had to have been a deleted scene because otherwise it just seems more obvious to show him doing that after like maybe the third fight of the montage or something.
Yeah, like I could never see Paulie clapping like Adrian. You could maybe see him like having a good time, like having a drink. But
he did when he won the belt, though. When he originally won the belt, he was crying and hugging Adrian. He was ecstatic. Well, now he's like 6 months later, he's so pissed off that.
Yeah, I think Rocky's rise to fame made him jealous.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
So the next fight that we see here is the tonight on closed circuit, which means officially what that means. I understand it now. Closed circuit is they would show this fight like pay-per-view in bars and what have you, pool halls, bars. You could. I don't know if you could get it at home per se.
No,
back then.
I think you'd have to go to a bar.
Bar, yeah, that's right. And Music Hall Radio City, it only holds 6,000 people. So I find it odd that Rocky's doing a title defense at wouldn't that be a small venue for a world championship fight?
The fight is somewhere else, perhaps, but Radio City Music Hall has it on closed circuit. You know what I mean? Like you can buy a ticket to go watch the fight.
That's an interesting theory. So you're saying 6,000 people would watch it at the hall?
Yeah, people from all over the world, obviously. So who knows where the actual fight is? But did you see who on the marquee? That Joe Zack is his father-in-law.
And he was referenced in the first film when they're going through the books. And, and he's like, Joe Zack's a good prospect.
That's right.
Good enough prospect that he indeed is fighting Rocky.
That's a good callback.
That's right.
He wasn't a ranked contender back then, though. He was just a prospect back then because like, he wasn't considered originally to fight Apollo.
So there's Joe Zack there, who does not look like anything like his father-in-law.
No.
They took some liberties. So, because for our listeners, Joe Zack, the character in the film, is black, but Sly at the time was married to Sasha Zack. She'll have a cameo later on in this film. So this title defense happens, whatever time has passed. Now, Paulie's openly sort of hiding his drinking at the venue. So he's drinking at the venue. So now we're seeing as an audience, okay, he's bitter and he's a drunk again. We're back to Rocky, the first film.
Yeah, and it's not like they don't serve alcohol there, but he's like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
I can't have a beer. No, I have to drink spirit straight out of the bottle.
In a paper bag.
Loaded.
Is that 5 Roses there?
It's not, and it's 4 Roses. It's a cheaper, this is J&B, which is cheaper, I think. Or maybe not at the time, because at the time 4 Roses I don't think was good. But 4 Roses is a bourbon, and J&B is a blended Scotch whiskey. So I don't know why the different liquor. I don't know.
He likes to change it up, Come on. Maybe this is at the venue drink type thing.
Maybe.
All right, so now we got Rocky winning, I guess, if I'm tracking, this is the second title defense. Again, I don't know if we see all 10 or if we see more. I can't remember. It happens pretty fast. I love how he's holding up Mickey. Poor Mickey. This was probably the start of his heart attack moment here when Rocky's carrying him out of the ring. It probably wasn't good for old Mickey's heart here.
On that point, I feel like there was actually a scene in Rocky 2 where we're shown Mickey being really out of breath at one of the fights, probably the final fight sometime. It was almost like they started to show it even in Rocky 2.
Oh, well, let's go back and do that season again and we'll see. What's the seating capacity, Kyle? If you don't mind looking that up while we play this for the seating capacity of Caesar's Palace. But I like your theory there, Katie. That's the only thing I can think of because they did show closed circuit at that music hall. Why would they show that? You're right. Maybe it's playing there. Okay, fair enough. Okay, now we're Caesar's Palace. He's fighting, I think, now his third opponent.
It's 19,500 for boxing.
Oh, there you go. So it's legit. Okay, there you go. So he's fighting Caesar's Palace, and now this is our first shot of Clubber in the audience. And of course, audiences would have known already via the trailers, whatever, that Mr. T is the antagonist in this film. So we see him now in the crowd watching the fight as you would watching what you would hope as a contender, future contender. So the person he's fighting, we don't know the name of this individual he's fighting right now. We got
Big Yank Ball.
Oh, it is now.
Is that like a porno name or something?
I think so. So he's fighting Big Yank Ball right now. That's right. Well, why would they name him this? Come on. There's not even in parentheses. Like the Big's not in parentheses. Is his name Yank? Is his last name Ball, which is a real last name? Ball is the last name. Lucille Ball, for example. So that's a real last name. But Big Yank, they must have known what they were doing.
They're not consistent with what needs to be in quotations and what doesn't.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So Big Yank Ball was the number one contender. Which is funny because imagine if Big Yank won, would Clubber then be like, all right, I gotta pity this fool because I'm gonna take what he's got.
Where does it say he's number one? Did I miss that?
Another title fight.
Well, you don't have to be number one contender to have a title fight.
Oh, okay. Well, what do I know?
You could fight a lower ranked contender, like fifth or something like that.
But the point is, if Big Yank won, then all of a sudden Clubber's energy would have to be focused on the new champion. It's just funny. There's an alternate universe where one of these people could have beaten Rocky, and in that alternate universe, Clubber would just been. Then they still could have had the retirement statue for Rocky, even though he wasn't champion anymore. Would Clubber still gonna? Hey, woman, I know your mantle isn't the champion anymore, but I still have the speech I wanted to share.
Ryan, I gotta say that's actually your best impression yet. That was the best one so far.
Now you're gonna be in my head. I can't do it anymore. It's over.
It was pretty good.
I don't think it was very good. Are you being facetious, Kyle, or not?
Well, okay, it's for Ryan.
Wow, boy! I went from a solid compliment from Kyle to Katie shitting all over it to. Then Kyle going back to for Ryan it was pretty good. Like, okay, you know what, guys, I'm done. All right,
We love you, Ryan.
I was hoping that you would have greeted me this morning with "Hey, woman."
Oh, we should have. When we get to that episode, we'll treat you accordingly as Clubber would treat you. Now he punches this Big Yank Ball and he flies in the air. Kyle, you've watched a lot of box matches. Has anyone ever left the canvas both feet in the air from a punch that you're aware of?
You know what? I don't know about both feet in the air, but the way he knocked him out was very reminiscent of like Mike Tyson in his prime, where he would hit someone with like an insane body shot and then hit him with an uppercut like that, and the person would go flying. I've seen more impressive Mike Tyson knockouts than these montage knockouts. Now, granted, Mike Tyson's a very special case. He's not normal, so it's like it wouldn't be typical in boxing for that to happen. But yeah, like you could see someone fly like that.
Now, when the guy flew up in the air, when Big Yank Ball went up in the air, Clubber stood up at the same time. Now, did he stand up in anger or actual like, oh, wow, Rocky is powerful? Because he just stands up like, oh. It seemed like he was almost angry that Rocky was powerful, if that makes sense.
I think he's disgusted. That's like the look I get from his face is like disgust. Like, this is
by
bullshit.
what? By what?
Well,
though?
I think Clubber has a huge ego. So he's convinced he's the man. And he does not respect Rocky at all. He knows he's better than Rocky, and he for sure does not respect Rocky's opponents. When he sees Rocky knock this guy out, he's like, this is crap. Like, I'd be able to destroy this guy. Like,
he sees that it's a sham. Like, he's like, these are setups. Like, he's like pissed now.
That's
like,
what
I
I'm
have to
thinking.
keep watching. Yeah.
Are the only people who know these are handpicked, so to speak, are Mickey, Adrian, and Clubber? Is anyone writing in the boxing reports that Rocky is not, like, you know what I mean? It seems like Rocky's wholly unaware this is happening until Clubber's statue visit. So I find it interesting that Clubber seems to understand these are handpicked or these aren't real fighters. So he calls out Rocky for being a paper champion, but none of the people that report the sport called Rocky out of it that he would have read.
Is there someone else other than Clubber around that Rocky could be fighting that is higher caliber? And would Clubber run into that guy in his ascent to the top? Because it seems like Clubber's knocking out people very easily as his rise.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I'm wondering if this is almost kind of like a Mason Dixon type of situation where you're at the top of the division and the division sucks. You're not fighting anyone that's good because they're not there.
Yeah, I'm just confused.
I think they're handpicked for Rocky's safety. So it's like one of those things that's like a very weird gray area.
That's right, because we see Clubber. Yeah, we're led to believe that Clubber's rise was legit, and he's fighting all these hardcore out of prison type characters. And Rocky seems to be fighting people who just started boxing, and they're going to have to eventually meet. But yeah, how's that possible that Rocky couldn't that none of his fighters are good, but all clubbers were legit fighters.
Why do you think clubbers were?
Because that's
really
how he
good?
acts. That's what he's saying.
Oh.
I'm the one that clawed my way to the top. I had to fight monsters in the ring type mentality. I'm the one that had to I had no real nothing. I had to do this and so yeah. Clubbers seems to be the typical I'm entitled to this that you have, and you're there, and you're defending your champion, but you're a paper champion. Everything's being spoon fed to you. But everyone I'm fighting to get to you to be the contender that you need to fight have been real fights. But that's what Kyle's saying is who's the real fighters if both these guys are beating everyone easily.
I personally don't think there is anyone. I'm just going to assume there isn't.
Yeah, I did not assume that the people that Clubber was fighting were any better than the people that Rocky were fighting.
By the way he talks about how Rocky defends himself against. These are still contenders. Like Big Yank Ball was a contender. These are real contenders. Like Kyle was saying, it doesn't have to be the number 1 contender, but there's no way they're number 30. These have to be, or else some sports writers are going to say, that's what I'm getting is
there would be sports writers that say, these people aren't really that great. But
that's what I'm saying is Rocky is legit. When Rocky gets told by Mickey that have that big discussion, which will be a whole new episode, he's confused and perplexed by this revealing. So that would mean that either there have been people writing about this already and somehow Rocky is totally ignorant to anything being written about him. But Adrian and Mickey, it's my impression they were both protecting them as a husband and a fighter.
Well, Paulie knows it too. It's almost putting Rocky in a light that makes him seem.
He just doesn't read anything. Are there?
Well, he's kind of dumb though.
Yeah,
right? He's kind of dumb.
There's no way that nothing, because he watches the news. He watches the sports things. He did it even when he was not a champ. He loves the sport. He has to be around it.
If he believes he's the champ, and then it's some media guy on the news is saying, oh, Rocky's fighting these bums. He's not a good fighter. Rocky will just say, when I was fighting Apollo, people didn't believe in me either. I'm not going to listen to these guys. He's not going to be objective.
Because now he's a star. There could be a degree of everybody's kind of a yes man. Nobody critiques the star. Everything they do is great.
Even Muhammad Ali would say openly, actually, there's a video, I wish I could just show it here, where this reporter or this interview, this talk show host guy asked Muhammad Ali, it's why are you fighting these guys that are obviously not in your class? Ali's so good at talking to people and deflecting that he easily handled that situation. But even Ali later in his career was yeah, I'm not going to fight these hardcore guys this late in my career.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Okay.
Joe Louis, who is one of the greatest boxers of all time, he used to have this thing which people called Bum of the Month tour, where he would fight once a month against people who are complete shit, and he would knock them out. Everyone knew exactly what was happening, and it was just accepted.
Who was that?
Joe Louis.
Oh, interesting.
The Brown Bomber.
That was his nickname?
Yes.
That's terrible.
I did it this morning. Okay. Okay. So now we see, Adrian and Rocky, they're just simpatico right now because, the first 2 films, they weren't regarding the boxing career. But right now we see Adrian just loving these fights because she knows her man is not in any trouble. So she's just enjoying this spectacle. I love how she's enjoying Rocky committing damage to other humans that she doesn't want her husband to go through. So she just loves watching the carnage of other people as long as it's not her husband.
You see Rocky not taking you'll see he has a cut on his eye or something.
Sure.
Rocky never again shows the physical punishment that was given to him from Apollo. Even the Ivan Drago beating, which you would think would be worse than the Apollo fights, because Rocky just took a ton of hits. His face isn't that bad after compared to fighting Apollo. So he's coming out of these fights looking pretty good. He's not hospitalized after them the Apollo fights.
He gets injured. That's why he gets injured. So.
Well, now that he's got his face fixed up handsome, he wants to showcase that.
That's true.
I do actually have a hard time believing Adrian's this into him fighting. I know what you're saying.
She's kissing back at him in the ring. He kisses her with the gloves. She kisses does a blow kiss back to him. They're showing their love. They're so happy. She's wearing nice clothes. She's got all these different outfits for every fight. She's just dressed to the nines.
It's insane though, because Rocky should be disabled at this point, right? Rocky's eyes should be fucked up beyond all recognition. She should be saying, look, we have a ton of cash. We have a ton of money. We do not need to do this for the money. please retire. Don't risk going into the ring. I know what you're saying before about like how she knows they're kind of handpicked, so she's not too worried. But I feel someone like Adrian would be paranoid. Like, oh, what if this guy gets like a lucky shot and hits Rocky in the eye just so, and he's blinded now? What are we going to do?
Paulie's behavior, Adrian has changed. Everyone's changed. You can't change who you are, Adrian.
Rocky 5 Adrian is concerned with her husband's health over money. Rocky 3 Adrian is not. She loves that cash. She loves the lifestyle. She's riding high.
It's true, but I do think to some degree she doesn't feel there's really danger, true danger.
Yeah, because she's no longer fighting Apollo.
We're on the next part of this fight. I think this is the fourth contender we're seeing. I have lost track.
A white guy.
I think it's German.
A European champion.
Yeah. So they show them hug at the end of the knockdown. I you know what I think they're showing here? I think they're showing that in this moment with the hug is that it's the first international type fight. So it's kind of like the Bridging of Nations,
Good call.
He's fighting a German. It's all in good fun. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Rocky knocks out the German champ, captures hearts of European fight fans. See, there you go.
He's just likable, right? He has that charisma.
I love reading the write-up under the there's the writing has nothing to do with the captions. I love it. I love it.
They did not anticipate podcasts covering this.
No, we won't do that ad nauseum. I know Rocky Minute did it as well, and I think we even did it on Going the Distance podcast. But yes, the write-ups underneath the headlines have nothing to do. This is from the London Examiner. Rocky knocks out German champ. Yeah.
So when I was doing my timeline analysis for these films, I would have to look at each one of these articles because a lot of them have dates. Have written dates, which is, to me, written form is the best way to know a timeline. But a lot of them do have the date of the actual the time of filming on them, which I thought was interesting.
This movie really gets into our time warp. Rocky 3. There's a lot of questions.
Well, that's the problem because now this is his fourth fight. Okay, now fight number 4. Then we're going to go really fast here. Fight number 5 knocks this guy out. That's 5. 6 right here. 6 right here. Right. 5, 6. 7 right there. And each one is a different magazine cover. 7 just got knocked out. 8 got knocked out.
9.
10.
There's 10. The 10th one.
I think we counted 13 if I remember correctly. Some were title defenses and some were just exhibition fights is what I think. So when he knocks out the German champ, because I think Kyle's mentioned, they don't share the same. It was probably an exhibition fight. It was a shaking of hand. All I know is he fights, I think, 13 people in this montage. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We just saw a scene there of Adrian just, of course, we're hearing the Eye of the Tiger music, and Adrian / Talia Shire, she's dancing in her seat. So it's almost like she can hear the music being played. She's so excited to be at a boxing. This is like the 10th, at least the 10th title defense or boxing match since he won the championship in part 2. And she is just on cloud 9 with every fight. She just cannot get enough of this.
Yeah. She does look really nice.
Adrian in Rocky 3 is the hottest that she's of all the films. So she's peak. She's 36 years old. I think she looks fantastic. Sly is also 36. They're both the same age. I think Talia Shire is so stunning in this film. So all her outfits and everything are just great. So this is the big classic scene here where Rocky comes in for a big left hook and he hits this guy. And he obviously is real contact on this. And my understanding, a lot of these boxers that are in the ring with Sly, they're stunt doubles. They're not doubles. They're stuntmen. So that's why they're taking these hits and stuff. They're not actual boxers. So this guy getting hit by Sly, watch, because he actually makes contact. Watch this. Boom.
Ooh. On the neck or something, too. That looks like it hurt.
It's a real hit.
Yeah.
Like, he hit him. So these are stunt guys. Obviously, he went, he moved his head with the hit. Like he knew that was coming from Sly. It was rehearsed, but there's contact enough that spray or water leaves the head. A lot of these guys were stuntmen that were in the ring.
Good call.
So again, another guy goes down, flailing his arm, hitting the turnbuckles, and then we have TVs showcasing, you know how they used to do this TV stacked on each other in store displays to sell TVs. So we're seeing that now. Of course, the 80s, very indulgent 80s. All these TVs showing the Rocky fights. Clever. Now, how is Clever affording all these fights?
Mm-hmm.
Not just going to the fight, but traveling to get to the fight.
Yeah, because I can imagine in the 80s, maybe a ticket to a big fight. Everything is just so exorbitant now, like concert tickets, sporting events. I feel like it probably wasn't outrageously expensive, but yeah, the travel would have been.
Plus, he has good seats too. It's not like he's way back there. It's just one of those things where they don't think about when they're making the movie.
So he is so obsessed, essentially, with Rocky's title. This is like the 13th fight. Clubber's been to at least half of them, according to the montage. He's been to at least half of them. Paulie as well has been dragged. Maybe he's just sick of being dragged to fights because Paulie is miserable in every fight. At this moment, we don't know why he's so miserable. We find out later why. But right now, as a viewer, we're like, why is Paulie so upset? Clubber is upset. So Rocky's won the fight. He's bowing to the audience, and Clubber's like, I can't handle this crap. He's walking out of the stadium to beat the parking rush.
Clubber reminds me of, you know, when you like someone, you have a crush on them, and then they start dating or being interested in someone else, and you get like a jealousy or like a possessiveness or something like that. He's like that on steroids with Rocky. Like he's like this weird stalker girl. They like can't leave Rocky alone.
Yeah, for sure.
We're just so used to this is how Mr. T looks. But when the world was introduced to him, I mean, he is the most unique looking, like
having
who had their hair that way.
Yeah, having a mohawk back in the 80s was very, especially for like a mainstream movie. And no one even talks about the mohawk itself in the movie. It's just, this is Mr. T's hair and you deal with it. There's one scene though. There's one scene in the whole film. It's so hilarious when Rocky rubs his mohawk with his glove in the final fight.
Yeah. Plus it's like he dresses kind of odd. For instance, he had feather earrings in.
Yeah.
And he has like this Native American thing. I think one of his jackets is like that too. Yep. Like it's very fringy.
Odd. Yeah. Everything about him is just like, wow, that is a character. And he's huge. He's this hulking, solid muscle. Like it is a really well cast.
Agreed.
Villain.
This is the first time we've seen the Rocky films. We actually now seen pre-opponent montage fighting of a future opponent of Rocky. We never saw that with Apollo. We never saw what Paul did to other people. So now we're seeing what will be the future against Rocky. So we're seeing as an audience right away, like the first 5 minutes of the film, we're seeing this guy who will be the future. As a first-time viewer, we don't even know that Rocky's going to lose the fight against. I remember when I first saw this film as a kid, I remember thinking, what, he's fighting him already? It didn't even occur to me that he could lose. This is interesting to the audience right now, seeing the kind of the damage that Clubber is doing. So guy's hanging on the ropes, Kyle, and he's got his arm over the rope. Are you allowed to keep punching him while he's hanging on the rope? Okay.
You know what? I don't think so. Being punched while you're going down, if you're leaning against the rope and you're kind of crouched down, you could for sure keep punching someone. For example, there's an interesting video. Tommy Morrison, who is Rocky related, he got hit by this guy and knocked out, but his arm got stuck in the rope.
Oh.
And so he wasn't falling like he should. Like, you know, if you get knocked out, you fall around and you can't get hit anymore. But his arm got stuck in the rope, so he's like kind of half conscious, stuck in there, standing up. And this guy is just hitting him mercilessly.
Oof.
Tommy Morrison is like legit unconscious, getting his face kicked in. Like I don't know who is the referee. It's right that went to the Lou Filippo school. Refereeing, but
so I love this headline. So we see the first fight, like as a viewer, we're seeing one of the first fights that Clubber's doing during the same time that Rocky's defending his championships. It says Clubber Lang, this is the newspaper headline, Clubber Lang mauls Yaffe for brutal 6 straight knockouts. So now we're seeing a little bit of like, oh, this guy's on the climb. This Clubber Lang is on the climb. It's brutal. I love how it's the brutal knockout.
Both Clubber and Rocky just win fights by knockout. Like every single person you see Rocky fight, he knocks out. So Rocky's never won a boxing match on points for being a skilled boxer. Like he relies on
he loses that way. He loses that way.
Sure. He relies on being able to knock someone unconscious. And so now we see Clubber Lang. He's winning all his fights by KO also.
Of course. So here's a little bit of the write-up underneath the headline. They had no idea. Many persons feel at this stage that some legal action is forthcoming, but now it becomes common knowledge that there is pressure from the inside, which will materially change the aspect of the blow. It's just so funny. They had nothing to do with the Clubber Lang. I love it. These poor people, these prop department people were
they just swapped the headline.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I do, because it's like, it's going to be on the screen for 2 seconds. No one can read it.
Yep.
Little did they know.
Oh, it comes in nice and clear here. There you go. So, here's another one.
Oof.
Now, that's not legal, what he just did there.
For our listening audience, guy was trying to get up. He got knocked down to his knee and tried to get up again. And Clubber knocks him down while he's trying to get up, which was actually what happened to Adonis Creed from Victor Drago in Creed 2. That was an illegal hit. That's the only reason why Adonis didn't lose the belt is because it was a disqualification. So theoretically, Clubber should have been disqualified there.
Good point.
100%. And then he manhandles the ref after this. The judges probably let him win just so they wouldn't get beat up in the parking lot or whatever.
Well, the previous fight, he's shown pushing the ref away too, because the ref's trying to step in some way.
So this is the start of something new in Rocky, something that has never been done yet. The whorish product placement that will occur in this and the next film.
Rocky 3 is brought to you by Nike, and Rocky 4 is brought to you by Adidas.
Yes, and Hugo Boss to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
And not just Nike. Now we have a credit card commercial, which is American Express. We're seeing now that Rocky from the second film, remember when he couldn't read the dummy cards? Now he's able to spout off commercials. He's not only fixed up his face real nice, but his brain has had surgery as well. His brain has now now able to read and write, apparently.
He's been practicing reading. He was practicing with Adrian, reading those books, and time has gone by. This could be years after Rocky 2. He's probably also working with a producer that's not a prick. So all those things coming together, he probably worked really hard to be able to read on that commercial.
But yeah, he became civilized. He's got
Is this the last of his real hair?
I don't know, maybe. Well, probably 4 too, because it's his real hair in 4, I think.
Okay. You can see where it might be lightening up a little bit. You can kind of even see it here. He's poofing it out and he's fluffing it out, but you can see, All right, so he's got his American Express card out. This is American Express card commercial. He's reading very well. While he's doing commercials, Clubber's just chewing through the competition. Clubber Lang now ranked 8th, and it shows a concerned look of Mickey. Mickey's now also watching the rise of Clubber, so he's aware. And then we see another quick scene here of him just manhandling this poor guy into the corner. Look at this.
It's effective because we're like, this guy is a killer.
There was a comment before from Louise, I think, and we've talked about it before, but Clubber Lang is George Foreman. In this George Foreman's rise was like this. He knocked out everybody. Right? Ernie Shavers is known as the most powerful puncher, but George Foreman is right up there. Even when George Foreman came back in his 40s, Evander Holyfield, when he hit him in the face when they fought, said, I actually believed that he knocked all my teeth out.
Oh, wow.
And that's when Foreman punched him way, way past his prime. Foreman was devastating. No one could beat him.
Rocky's now part of some sort of telethon. They always have celebrities come on who do a little bit of a spot over the 12-hour, whatever, 24-hour donation thing. And we got 4 or 5 phones there. All these ladies are working the phones, taking donations. And this poor girl behind Rocky, she looked really sad and awkward.
Yeah.
Rocky something? What does it say? Rocky loves you. Rocky loves you?
Oh, good eyes.
I think you can go to jail for getting her to wear that now.
So she's holding a microphone. So I wonder what her speaking part was that we don't get to see. And because Rocky's throwing, shadow punches, boxing with this little other boy next to them. Again, he's fun with the kids. He's easy with the kids.
Split screened with Clubber.
Taking shots to the face on purpose, showing that Clubber could take a punch.
Showed him playing with the kids a little bit. Now he turns the camera all kind of serious. Today we're raising money for, what do you think they're raising money for? Stickball? Better equipment?
The Girls and Boys Club of Philadelphia. I don't know.
Now here's an interesting that happens very quickly. So they're having a birthday party for their kid. And look who's there or who isn't there.
Mr. Paulie.
Paulie's not at the party. Mickey is.
Well, we just don't see him.
But
because Paulie had a good relationship with the kid, right?
I know, but there's a Christmas scene coming up, and Paulie's not there yet either. So I think this is part of the problem because Mickey moved into the house, so they're throwing a birthday party. You're right. You can say Paulie, sure, he's getting the beer from the fridge, but I think it's supposed to showcase that Paulie's not there. Mickey's at the party.
Yeah, that's a good point.
See, and there's the dancing Santa. That's Mickey.
Yeah, little dirt bike in the house.
Look at all those gifts for this kid, spoiled brat. So they have a dirt bike or like a BMX bike for the kid. And then in the living room as well, they have
an actual motorcycle.
A motorcycle in the living room. How? It's for Rocky. The motorcycle's for him. So did Adrian, I guess, have some workers deliver it during?
Oh, yeah.
They'll make it happen. They'll hide it in the house.
At some point, they went to bed as a couple in their palatial mansion. How did they sneak the bike there?
Adrian could bring that bike in whenever, the week before, and hide it somewhere. The house is that big that you could probably hide it.
Did her and Mickey roll it in from wherever the hiding spot on the same floor?
Workers did. They have help now.
It's the living room. How did they sneak it between?
Well,
you can roll a bike. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I feel like I could physically do
it's
that.
On wheels.
I'm outnumbered again.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. It is like...
Because she's like, look at this beautiful fur jacket you gave me. He's like, yeah, look at this beautiful bike you gave me with the helmet in my hand and the bow on it. So like, it's gifted to him. He saw it when he came down with the kid who's dancing with Mickey right now in the sand outfit. Like, it's just, I don't know, but I know it's showing how much money they have. This is the kind of money. These are their Christmas gifts. I get it.
Rocky's financial ruin was inevitable, even if he didn't have a crooked accountant. It is a real common thing in sports when you have people who are not used to having a lot of money or any money at all. When they get a lot of money, especially athletes, they spend like they're going to be earning that money.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
for decades and decades and decades, when in reality their sporting career is pretty short. And I understand he makes loads of money off commercials and stuff too.
Yeah,
I think it's only a matter of time before he fucked up and lost all the money.
Fair.
And so the DeLorean, how 80s is that?
Yeah, so there's a DeLorean. This is 3 years before Back to the Future, so there you go. It's just showcasing the ads, motorcycle ads, camera ads, slides the face of the Maserati and DeLorean, which is odd that he's a face to two different car companies, which is odd.
Well, I don't know if they're direct competitors in the sense, right? If the people buying the Maserati would be interested in the DeLorean and vice versa.
Cover of GQ.
With the watch.
So Rocky Balboa goes Western. It's on GQ. So funny.
That's odd because like Stallone himself wears like Western gear, or he does now. I don't know if he did in the 80s, but Rocky doesn't. We never see Rocky wear Western clothes.
I think he'll do it if you pay him enough.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
The idea of that. This is another George Foreman comparison. You see Clubber punching the punching bag and it has like a ton of duct tape around it. Well, George Foreman used to practice his punch on these punching bags. And his punch was so powerful, there'd be like this permanent dent in the bag, and he'd be ripping bags apart. They would have to tape the bags over and over again, destroy them over and over again. And I don't know if they did that intentionally for this Clubber scene. I think it's either that or they show that like he is training somewhere where they have no means to replace punching bags, so they have to duct tape it. But either way, it gives off the George Foreman vibe for sure.
Look how quick this frame was. I had to like psycho click my mouse to pause it. There's no one in the theaters. Has anyone seen this? Have you ever seen this right here?
No,
it's like a
Tony
subliminal
Lamas
message.
Jeans. And he's like showing his butt.
Yeah.
It looks very gay. Like which is fine, by the way, but Rocky could take it and he's like presenting his ass to the thing. It's like, so can Tony Lamas, which I guess is Jeeds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
apparently.
quick Google search. A lot of it's coming up cowboy boots right now, which would tie into his Go Western. But it says Rocky can take it. ... So can his Tony Lamas. That's so quick. I had to like psycho pause to get this still shot. There's no one in the theaters that would have caught. There's not one person of those 90 million tickets sold that left the theater going, "Hey, did you catch the Tony Lamas ad?" Subliminal message, my friends. This is literal subliminal messages. All right, of course, now they're cutting to he's cover of Wheaties. He's the cover. He's hockey and Gatorade. And like you're saying, Kyle, all these are real products. So within the universe of the film, showcasing how much Rocky is getting from all these companies to be a face for their company. But also, these are real products being showcased in the film, seen by millions. So it's a double whammy in that sense.
I'm okay with the Wheaties and Gatorade and stuff like that because it's showing him advertising. Like it's in the context of advertising. So it makes sense. Like it'd be weird if you had some brand that didn't exist or something like that to avoid product placement. So you're kind of forced to do product placement there. But like the problem I have in this film with the Nike product placement is that it's just so contrived and obvious. Like especially when it shows them doing their footwork and you see both of them with like the Nike shoes, and I'm just like,
fair enough. You could argue too that yes, they're advertising, but were they also just wearing workout stuff that was just common back then? It's hard to say. Like they
all Nike though. Everyone's wearing Nike.
I wore Nike all the time too. Like that was the thing too. So maybe
it is like legit because it's Adidas in the next movie. So
there you go.
Okay, so I was into the Rocky movies a lot as a kid, but also as a teenager. And when I was a teenager, and Katie, I'm sure you can remember this, late like 1997, everyone was wearing sports shit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially tracksuits. Do you remember that? People wearing like Adidas and Nike tracksuits all the time.
I remember
like
the shoes
pants.
more so, like very specific, like Pumas and Adidas.
Yeah,
and,
Puma.
Yeah.
So I remember watching this film and be like, wow, people even wore Nike stuff all the time back then. But really, they didn't. Like,
Mm-hmm. The Muppet Show, we're showing his appearance on The Muppet Show. And I know this movie came out in 1982, but The Muppet Show's final year was 1981. It ended that
Correct.
year. Yeah.
Correct. What they did here was, as you know, Stallone really appeared on the Muppet Show during its run. What they did is they had the voice of Kermit the Frog, Frank Oz, I believe it's who does the voice, redo the voice work to say Rocky Balboa instead of Sylvester Stallone. That's all it was. So the
That's
images,
cool,
the images you see here of Sly with the Muppets is his real appearance on. That's the actual appearance of the Muppet Show. So he appeared as himself on the Muppet Show. They then just refurbished it for the Rocky film. That's Rocky on the that was an actual skit from the show.
And he was Budweiser beer. He was the man or the face of every major product.
It's almost too much. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, is that like it's 20 different products?
And they even created a like granola bar or power bar for him called the Rocky Crunch.
how did he not cheat on Adrian at this time?
I know.
Like, women would be throwing themselves at him nonstop. Like, I'm thinking of that because he's signing all these autographs here.
Yep.
Well, that's why we love him so much, because he could have. There he's with Bob Hope. I don't know who the other guy is.
That's Gerald Ford.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
So Rocky is now Forrest Gump. Is that where that lead? Like he's thrilled to,
oh my God. I
like,
can't believe I didn't know that was true.
Rocky went to the White House again. President of the United States again.
Oh, and that's Jimmy Carter, isn't it?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. But look how young Sly looks there. What the? Look at his face.
Yeah,
there. That looks like a Paradise Alley Sly.
Yeah.
Meeting. Look at the hair. That's not even his hair now. That's like 1976 Sly. Or 72 Sly. That's really that I've never caught that. That's so funny.
You gotta get a haircut before you meet the president.
Okay, so wait, he's met Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, and Ronald Reagan.
3 presidents. So he is a big, big deal, is what this montage is supposed to show us.
The heavyweight championship was a much bigger deal back in the day, too. You could easily find pictures of other heavyweight champions back then with the president. So, that's legit.
And how happy he is. Everything is just carefree for
Wear
Rocky
a fucking helmet, you guys.
I see people still now that don't wear helmets. We must not have a.
This was 82. I don't think they had helmet laws in 82. Honestly, they did.
He
wore a helmet later though, because he threw the helmet at the statue.
But we need the hair blowing.
But you can't show him with the helmet here because it would look weird, right?
He does have a helmet. Look at that hair. That's a helmet head.
I don't think Colorado has a helmet law. I see people riding like on the freeway. I'm like, God dang it.
But this is a great shot, though, of them on the bike with the hair going back, because this is really, Adrian or Talia Shire in real life on the back of, helding Sly. Like, how many girls would love to be in the scene right now with Sly? 36-year-old Sly, you got your arms wrapped around him, and you're riding a motorcycle with Sly. That's legit. He's riding that motorcycle with her on the back, and they both look fantastic. This is just peak Adrian and Rocky. They just look fantastic. They're so happy. They're in love, money, fame, bikes, toys, and they just look great. They look
do.
Great.
I love this little bit of them like
rolling on the grass. So making love.
Because normally stuff like this would destroy your relationship.
Not
like
them.
when you have a big change like this, the money gets in the way, all the attention he gets from other girls. Shit like this usually causes problems.
Right.
So here's the end of the montage. Here we go. So we'll end it with this. We'll listen to so Clubber's knocked out the 8th or 9th person in a row, and now he's yelling to the crowd and whoever will listen, and Mickey, I want Balboa.
He just knocked out the number 1 contender too, so he's number 1. So he should get a shot. He deserves a shot for sure.
Okay.
Balboa, you that old man, you tell my boy, come here, bro. Nobody can beat me. You tell him what I say. Are you next? I'm gonna get him. Nobody can stop me. You tell Balboa that. I'm coming after him. You tell him.
The way he speaks is very specific as well. I can't even describe it. It's like the clip, like quick yell clip to his words.
Mr. T grew up on the projects in Chicago. From what he's described, it was insane there. Like, it was really aggressive, rough. place. But I've only been to the Chicago airport. Most of the employees there are aggressive. Like, they remind me of Clubber Lang. Like, it was a real kind of culture shock to me.
Chicago's my favorite American city. I love it.
I only could speak to the airport and the people working there. Like, I think he comes from like kind of a different world.
Oh yeah.
Well, we know that the character of Clubber from Sly, that he did serve prison time. So him coming out to box was after his prison sentence. So he actually boxed in prison as well, as my understanding. But that's it. That's the idea. Is he is angry at the world, angry at a situation, angry that there's a paper champion. So that kind of explains the anger. He's coming up the hard way. He's lived the hard life. He doesn't have even though Rocky, he might not know, Rocky was raised on the streets too. You know, remember the neighborhood, Rock? They were both raised on the streets to a degree, but right.
Like, I agree that Rocky was raised on the streets. You have to make Clubber super angry and disagreeable, because otherwise you're going to sympathize with him way too much. He's working hard. Sure. He's earning his way to the top. He deserves to be champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Rocky's the one who got the lucky shot. Now, Rocky went through hell to become the champion. So in that way, he also deserves to be champion, because he fought Apollo twice and like endured something that no one else could endure. Clubber Lang has fought all the way from the top. He has a good record. You know, like what Mickey was saying in the first film? It's like, these guys, they got good records. They fight their guts out for peanuts. But you got a shot at the title.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about Clubber there. He's talking about this guy with a good record. He fights his guts out for peanuts. And those are the guys who don't get a shot. I sympathize with Clubber big time. If Rocky ducked him, I would hate Rocky for that.
Right.
But you got to make Clubber an asshole so you could still sympathize with the Rocky character.
Good point.
This is big episode, folks. I love it. There's only one way to get through this montage, is to get through the way we did. I didn't want to break it up, so it's a little bit supersized episode. Thank you to you both for taking time out of your day to record. Thanks to those who joined our chat and all the great comments. If you want to ever watch us live, you're listening to this, you're like, what's Ryan talking about? Via our Discord channel and via our Facebook channel and via my Twitter, I always plug when we're about to go live on Sundays. Is usually every Sunday or every second Sunday for the Rocky and every second Sunday for the Rambo. Same idea. Is I'll plug the StreamYard and you can join the chat. So if you're able and around, you can come join the chat and watch us live. So you get to kind of watch the whole episode or any part of it before it actually goes out in the air. And then you can join the chat. So that's who we're speaking to, if that makes sense. So join those links to get those announcements. That's how it works via Discord, Twitter, or Facebook group. Okay.
Skip church. Don't go to church.
Yeah.
Watch our podcast live instead, okay?
That's true. Join the Patreon. Help support the show via that way. Send us an email. This episode is over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to